Well, I just got off the phone after spending an hour talking to someone at HR about multiple issues. And what I came away from this long conversation is that uh, she knows a lot about what's going on behind the scenes at Evil Corp. And she told me there needs to be a corrective action plan in place. They can't fire you without trying to fix you. She works in HR. She has a corrective action program that's been in place against her for 6 months now. And that means that you have to sign that paperwork. You have to agree to the corrective action procedures. And if they deem that you're not correcting your behavior within that metric of what they expect for you to do, then there's isn't grounds for termination, which is something that whew, um, kind of just made my little heart stop beating so quickly. So, and this makes sense because not this senior manager, but the last senior manager that got fired in January of last year. Oh my God, I can't believe he's actually been gone that long. So, after he started, very shortly after he started, I think he was only there 3 months before the corrective action plan started getting him. And so, in a corrective action program, you have to receive 4 write ups. And not even the 4 write ups is enough to get you out the door. They've got to come up with the fifth one. Once you've been warned 4 times in writing, you've got to get a fifth one where they finally tell you that they're going to get rid of you. But HR can also say that you must retrain your employee in order to try to save them. And I've seen this many times. And as I said, my former senior manager, they went through every one of those things to get rid of them, from tardies to absenteeism. They went through a lot to get rid of him. And finally, he didn't understand why it was happening to him, even though he was told that he was, once you get put on a corrective action program, you're not going to be there very long. And I've been at my current Evil Corp for many years now, and I've never had a single write up. I'm not saying that they're not trying to, but I don't have anything in paper saying they're moving in that direction. Still, there's been a lot of downsizing. In fact, I just talked to HR about that, and she's just like, the new management wants to reduce the blueprint of the employees by a significant number, which 15% is a lot of people, in my opinion. So, there was also scandal that she told me about, but again, because you don't know who's listening to you at work. And remember, whenever you talk at work, if you're talking to work channels, they have the right to listen into your conversations. So never say anything ever, and I made that mistake, that you wouldn't want your boss to hear if they picked up the phone and wanted to listen to your conversations. All right. So with that said, this has nothing to do with the main part of my video. So I know I've been on this kick lately, and the reason why I'm on this jobs kick is because it's all that's being recommended to me in my feed. So today's talking points are going to be the illusion of job market success, the hidden cost of survival, and the disconnect between data and reality. And this topic came up because, let's face it, there are a lot of angry people that are disenfranchised with their current jobs and with their future prospects for jobs. So I know a lot of these people. I talk to a lot of these people. I was texting back and forth with one of the salon girls today, most of the day. We are just going back and forth, and she sent me some selfies. Um, Told me that feet pics are $300. So I'm like, you can keep your feet pictures. But with that said, let's get into what's wrong. Why are people so angry? Why are men leaving the workforce in record numbers? And before I get into my talking points, think about why men would leave the workforce and do something else, right? If working isn't going to provide you a higher quality of life, why would you work if you don't have to? That is the greatest point that anyone can make. If you're not going to buy a house, you're not going to buy a car, you're not going to get the most important thing, the booty, you're not going to get a girl, that gives men almost no reason to sacrifice because that's what you do as a man. You sacrifice for the things you care about. It's one of the main reasons why I still go to work because there's a lot of people that I help, like a lot of people that I help on a regular basis. And I help them because I know that they're not making much. I mean, like Salon Girl number two, like she didn't have money to go to work this week to put gas in her car to go to work. And I'm just like, we can't have you being even more poor than you already are. So you gotta help people out. I mean, I know that I'm poor, but they're poorer. And I look at people like that and I see that they still have hope. And mainly because they're girls. They still have hope. They still see a system in which they think that things are going to turn around for them. And I can't, for the life of me, take away people who are still hopeful. But for people like myself who are bitter at a system in which it's been 3 years since I've gotten a raise, and I'm not going to get a raise because my performance review was so poor, that I am just one of those people who is just has to accept the fact that life is not good, but for other people. And again, these are the people that still somehow, despite being kicked so hard by reality and jobs that just aren't worth doing, they continue to hold on. But they need help. And when you have resources, like I don't have much extra to give to people, but I do try to give as much as I humanly can because they're worse off. And I've been where they are most of my life. And I never had anyone like me who stepped in and would tell you, it's like, I don't want you eating ramen every day. I don't want you taking the bus to work. I don't want you looking poor. And this is something I've told Salon Girl number two on many occasions. Like I'll walk in and I'll look at her and it's like, Jesus, child, you look wretchedly poor. And she just looks at me and says, Millennial Steam, I am poor. That's the hardest thing. That despite all of the discomforts of living off $300 a week, that they still can just look at you and be like, I keep coming to work, I keep trying, I keep doing what I can, but it's not working. And hearing that from the proletariat all over the place, everywhere I go. Like today, I was at Kroger's and I was talking to one of my next door neighbors, and I mean, she just looked at me with those eyes that tell you I'm smiling, but on the inside, I'm not doing so well because I'm not going to have a place to live in 12 days. And it doesn't, even though she should be scared, she's not. She still has hope that something good will happen to her. And it's just remarkable to me. Anyhow, that's the introductory monologue. Let's get into our three talking points, and here we go. While jobs are technically available, most are low paying, high stress, and lack benefits, leaving workers unable to afford basic necessities despite working full time or even multiple jobs. This is a very common comment that I get on this channel. I'm working two jobs and I'm still in survival mode. Uh, so I don't know what to say. I was like, this is HR still contacting me right now. And so I try to understand how we let a world form around us that is so cruel to poor people, like to the nth degree. Like reality for people who are living at the bottom, for people who are trying to stretch. a brick of ramen over 2 days, why life is so unbearable for them. And I'm not here to solve any deep societal problems. I'm here just to tell you that we're all living like this. And this is one of the reasons why we had the hate vote last week or the week before. Was it last week? No, it was 2 weeks ago. That people went to the polls and said, we're not okay. We want change. We want something better than what we currently have. And by voting in a way in which made no sense to me, because rich people care even less about you than poor people, that people needed to believe that there was going to be something, that there was actually going to be jobs, and not these crummy jobs. When I hear a jobs report every month that comes out and they say there's 500,000 jobs created last month, and I think of how many of them are minimum wage, or all of them minimum wage. Are they all crap jobs? And when you see the economist come out like on MSNBC, he comes out, he shows all the stats, and then he looks into the camera and he says, "Yeah, but these jobs aren't great." You kind of just your head kind of goes back and you're like, they said the loud the quiet part out loud. They're not great jobs. They're not jobs that put people in homes. They're not jobs for people who want families. They're not jobs for people who need financial stability. Like, I was actually going to do a video because, again, it got recommended to me on the ad apocalypse currently happening at Twitch. Revenues have dropped to record lows as the company has to restructure. That means that there's going to be a lot of people who were making a living, just like in 2017 on YouTube, where you saw the destruction of entire communities. The Call of Duty community after 2017's ad apocalypse on YouTube disappeared overnight. You know, you had names of people who you'd been watching for years play Call of Duty. Suddenly, they're not financially, they can't keep their head above water. You take away their good paying jobs and you force them back into the crap jobs. These aren't people, let me rephrase that. If you're a content creator, you became a content creator because you were fed up with hourly work, because you felt like you could do better doing an alternative job. Because let's face it, if you're working in retail, warehouse, hospitality, restaurant, whatever you're working as an hourly job under $20 an hour, those jobs aren't designed to sustain you. Those jobs are supposed to be a crutch for when you're looking for a real job. But what happens when that job actually becomes the only job that you can get? And I'm a perfect example of that. I spent 2.5 years working in retail because I was looking for work, actively looking for work after I finished university, and it wasn't there. It just wasn't there. I mean, I kept going to interviews, submitting applications, hundreds, if not thousands of applications that I've submitted since I got out of school, and there hasn't been a single good job for me in my entire life. I've had no job my entire life where I could say I'm comfortable. I can pay all my bills with one paycheck, and the second paycheck goes straight into my savings account. That's not the case. And like most of you out there right now who are watching this, you're thinking to yourself, well, what's he talking about? Now, it's not that hard to realize that you're going to be in survival mode for the rest of your life. Like I've been. Like, you literally make it from one paycheck to the other, and you're going to start skipping meals before you get to your next paycheck, and you wonder, how is this normal? It's not. They have been trying to normalize this quality of life just like they've tried to normalize everything else. The crap food, the crap housing, and the crap jobs. They're trying to normalize this so that people don't stop at some point in their day and think, you know what? This isn't working for me. You can't normalize something that doesn't work for me and tell me it's my fault. Something here is fundamentally broken and we need to change it right now because it's not working for millions of people who get up every morning to go to their proly job inside of their proly car and come home to their proly woman, if anything at all. Who knows? You may come home to your proly cat or proly dog. Or heck, maybe you're sleeping on someone's couch. Remember, I've talked about this on many occasions. There is a version of homelessness that's out there that's not counted as homelessness. But this is, I call it soft homelessness. And I've lived in soft homelessness quite often throughout my life, where you're just moving from one couch to another and you don't have keys. That's the number one thing in soft homelessness. You have a place to stay, but you don't pay rent there and it's not long term. And if you counted the soft homelessness in America right now, this includes people who are forced to move back home into their parents' house because financially they can't make it on their own. If you started counting soft homelessness out there, the numbers would frighten you. And as I often say on this channel, if you're scared, you're not scared enough of the potential of you having a complete and total financial disaster in your life. That's why I've been shaking like a leaf for the past 3 weeks as I felt the hand of Evil Corp coming down to crush me and force me out there into a job market that's incredibly hostile. Like I said earlier in my video today, I've had 0 responses to my resume on Indeed. 0. Not 1, not 2, 0. And you wonder, it's like, well, what if I really was desperate? What if I did get the axe 3 weeks ago and I was out here looking for any job? You'd be in big trouble, mister, because that reality, that bleak reality, that the dystopian Indeed is full of nothing. It's just smoke and mirrors because the people that are looking for those jobs to feed families, they're realizing, oh my God, I lost my good job and I'm going to have to work at Chipotle. My Gen Zero has worked at every fast food restaurant you could imagine. And he actually told me this last week, I'm not going back to fast food. And I said, you know what? You might be putting on your hat back on and asking if you want fries with that because it's tough. It is a tough marketplace, even for senior level people like myself. It's a tough marketplace. And when I look through jobs, I mean, I have a lot of different skills, I would call them. I'm good with the camera. I'm good at fixing things. I'm good at this, whatever you call whatever this is that I'm doing currently. And yet here I am having the hardest time in the world finding any person who will reply back to me for any kind of job. All right, I have 1 minute left and 2 talking points. So I'm just going to read the talking point out loud, say something, and then read the next one. Millions are forced to live paycheck to paycheck, undermining any narrative of economic recovery. I know you guys can feel that one. It puckered up my rear end when I read that sentence. Economic recovery? Remember how I said in a video a couple months ago where I said, you know, we're still waiting for our aid, like the aid that they're giving to the Ukraine and the aid that they're giving to Israel. The American public needs FEMA to come in and rescue us from the paycheck to paycheck because this economic recovery isn't helping the people at the bottom. My final talking point. Economic wins like job growth and low inflation, but these numbers feel meaningless to those stuck in survival mode. So the first part of that was politicians and economists celebrate microeconomic wins. I don't understand how they try to push this narrative onto the proletariat that you're doing good, that the economy is booming, but yet everyone you know is living paycheck to paycheck. Credit cards are maxed out. They have two jobs and they're not feeling it. No one in America who's making under $20 an hour, and even people making less than $30 an hour, they're not feeling it, especially if you have to support other people. If you're supporting a brother, a sister, a mother, whoever you're helping, it's really causing your money to be stretched to the breaking point. In fact, I was just telling salon girl number two, who told me she needed to go grocery shopping today, that I get PTSD from going to the grocery store and looking at the high prices. It violates my psychological safety to walk into a grocery store. And that's where I'm going to end this video because I went on a lot of tangents. I'm out, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.